Welcome back on Dearly Departed, and probably one of the happiest sets of fans anywhere in the 92, let alone the Dearly Departed, would be Brentford. Now, Billy and I have been talking for a lot of years, and I sort of had my, Brentford, they're good. They play nice football. They're a bit flaky, though. They'll never really get up, and then if they do get up, I don't know what's going to happen. What happened to that Brentford, Billy, as you sit 7th in the Premier League with only 6 goals conceded, 2 places outside the European spots? It's going rather swimmingly at Brentford, would you agree?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, we're having a good time. We're having a really, really good time. Thanks for inviting us on, Ben. As we say, it's like I said, it's a pleasure. We have been chatting for a long time. Like I said, you're normally chatting EFL as it is, whatever it may be, whether or not it's Ipswich or Brentford or, playoff games in the Championship or whatever it may be. We have, long chats about that, on camera and off camera as well. So, and they're very pleasurable chats at that. And I suppose at the time, I'll be honest with you, like I said to you, I never really thought that we're going to be, you're going to be asking me to speak about Premier League stuff, because even though you want to get there for the bees, you never think it's going to happen, because it is quite a strange moment. It is, and I'm not putting us down. It's just very, very, very surreal. And when you get there as well, the whole idea is that for us, we try and, just like when we first come to the Championship, first year in the Championship, our whole thing is that everyone said, tell you something, as long as we finish 19th place, I think it was, 19th place, if we finish 19th, I'll be delighted if we finish 19th.
Playoffs.
Next year, we finished 1 place above Ipswich, in the playoffs, right. That first season. So we were like really confused then, because we're thinking, this Championship lark is actually, it's not as bad everyone makes it out to be. And it's almost like a similar thing has happened in the Premier League, where we're actually, listen, I know there's a long way to go. We could lose every single game to now and then. But the whole idea is that we're thinking, if we can just finish in 17th place, that'd be great. If we can finish in 17th place, that'd be good, because we don't know what the barometer is in this Premier League. We don't know how we're going to match up against other teams. Yes, we played them in the, we got to the semi-final of the League Cup last year, with in effect, it was our B team that got to the semi-finals, so you still don't know the barometer, who are you playing, who are they playing in their team, and also can you do it week in and week out, because it's all right doing it in cups, but it's actually being able to go out there and do it week in and week out. But so far, I think that the key thing that's happened for us is that, our guys, Matthew Benham, Phil Giles, Rasmus Ankerson, who are our directors of football, all the coaching team, they've been planning this for a long time. They've been planning this for like 6 years or something like that, saying when we get to the Premier League, this is what we're going to do. And I've seen the way that they operate. We're not next minute, let's go and spend 150 million in a second. They know exactly how they're going to build it, what they're going to buy, who they're going to buy, when they're going to buy it. Again, I'm second guessing here, but I can imagine their plan is, that, you buy some players in the Championship who are Premier League ready, and what you do is that they're Premier League ready. So it gives us enough to actually compete in the Premier League, but we're not going to go in the Premier League and blow all our money straight away. And what we'll do is that after a year, if we could show we could stay in the Premier League, we get another 150 million. And then you add to that and you buy some more players. And again, you don't spend all the money, but you do it kind of in stages so that you're doing it in a natural way. And also, if you're in the Premier League for a year, all of a sudden you're starting to convince players who are thinking, they're going to be a one-season wonder. I'm not going to go there. But if you're there for for your second year and going into further, then it increases the bartering power that you have. And I remember the one thing that the directors of football, when we speak to them, because we've got a really good relationship with them at Besotted, Pride of West Dot London, if you want to check it out. But we've got a really good relationship.
Sitting in the pub with them, Billy.
That's right. They know we can just literally to make a telephone call, say, Phil, you want to come down the pub and have a chat with all the fans? We get 60 fans down the pub, and we sat down and did a podcast a couple of months ago, which was absolutely brilliant. Definitely check it out. So, but I've got a really, really good vibe with them. And they said, I remember him saying to me, he goes, there's a massive difference between being in the Championship and being in the Premier League. And this was when we were in the Championship. He said, because we know what type of players we want to attract. We can find these like unpolished gems that other people don't really rate, and we think they're fantastic. But he goes, but we really struggle to convince them to come down to the Championship, because these players, wherever they're coming from, they want to play Premier League football. So he goes, things are a lot easier when you get to the Premier League. Okay, they're still difficult, but it's a lot easier than when you're in the Championship. The difficulty then is that when you get to the Premier League, the prices go up. So that same player, the price you have to play for them go up. So you're playing that sort of kind of bartering game as well. So we know the difficulties. It's been made slightly easier because we're in the Premier League, but then you're fighting against other teams in the Premier League and other teams around Europe and stuff. So I think that's the long game that I think they've been playing, but they've known exactly what they're doing. And the first player that came out of the hat, Aya, from Celtic. They've been tracking him for 5 years.
Billy, I was gonna mention Aya because it seems, and look, I'll give a very unfair stereotype of Brentford in the Championship to make my point of Ben Rama and De Silva and Jensen and Norgard playing beautiful football, but they didn't have the power, the size, and the physicality. And now Jensen, Pinnock, Aya, Onyeka looks a unit in midfield as well. They've got that power around the team now. We always knew you could play football, but do you think that was very much and something when you look and you look at someone like Norwich, perhaps didn't add? Do you think that's been a deliberate ploy, that physicality that someone like Aya brings?
I think definitely. I think it's a learning curve. Again, we've got a learning curve. The Benrahma, the BMW team that we had, Benrahma, Watkins, and Bumo team that we had, which honestly, it was a brilliant team that year. But we found ourselves often hit with a soft underbelly, as they call it. There's teams that put two banks of four up. We struggled to penetrate them, and then bang, they hit us on the break. Like you're Nottingham Forest to the wall again. This is not knocking Nottingham Forest, but that's what they used to do to us, and it was really frustrating. Where all of a sudden they score a wonder goal from 25 yards, Matty Cash or something like that. We're like, oh no, we've just lost that game, and we used to do it quite a lot. And we used to, again, we used to talk to the directors of football, say, how do we get around this? And they were saying, we kind of know and we understand, because we say, look, can't we be a bit tougher? Can't we be, they said, well, it's difficult because we're trying to play football. So if you've got trying to play football, you've got certain type of players. And, if you want to play tougher, then you've got different type of players. So, to try and find the player that does both of them, it's quite difficult and they're more expensive. And so that's the difficulties. But I think that the following, because we didn't go up that year, the following year, I think they switched the script a little bit and decided to go a little bit grittier, a little bit more concentrating on the defensive side, even though defensively we were really good beforehand, but it's almost like concentrate on the defensive side. The football we were playing is probably a little bit less pretty to the eye, so you haven't got all the people that are just raving about us that they were a couple of years before, but we could still play football. So we were still playing out from the back. Our centre backs would still play the ball out from the back. Our wing backs were doing the wing back thing, or our left backs would were still playing attacking if you needed to, but also at the same time we were just a lot stronger and a lot grittier. But also, if you remember last season, the season that we actually went up, we were sort of not struggling, but we hit a bit of a rock around February or March where we were not getting the wins that we wanted to. And
Valentine's
the reason why that was
Day
happening,
against Barnsley, Billy, wasn't it? I remember it well.
Right. That's right. And the reason why we weren't getting those wins is that we had a few injuries, and I think the injuries started to hit us quite badly. And we realised that we were trying to play a style of football, and we didn't quite have the players that we did it, we wanted to. So we changed to three at the back then. So we went to three at the back with two wing backs, and all of a sudden everything changed around. We got promoted. And this season, we've continued with that formation, which is interesting. But the difference that we've done is that we brought in Aya in that centre back, and he's not be funny, like he's a centre back, but half the time he's in the opposition penalty area, so he runs with the ball, he travels with the ball, he's a real ball carrier, he's a Rolls Royce of a centre back, he's fantastic. So I think it's about having players who can play to your system. And if you remember rightly, a few years before we had Esri Konza, who we bought from Charlton. And we had him for a season. We bought him from 1.5 million, after the one season. I mean, to be honest with you, most Brentford fans probably don't even remember him because he's one of those players who was there, but he wasn't really there. He kind of played his game. He was all right at Brentford because he was sort of quite good, ball playing centre back, but made a lot of mistakes and didn't quite work because the system that he was playing in, I don't think really worked for him. So when he, Dean Smith, who went to Aston Villa, ticked, the 12.5 million clause to take him off Brentford, everyone was like, okay, fair enough, you can go, because you weren't really a Brentford player as such. He's gone to Villa, and then, a lot of people are actually kind of raving at him and sort of saying he's really up. But what I'm saying is that he, when he was at the Bees, was probably there a bit early. He was the kind of player that we kind of wanted, but at the time, the team that we had and what we were playing was too early for as reconnaissance. So
He'd
now
fit perfectly now, wouldn't he?
yeah, exactly. So now it's perfect. So we've got Iain and we've got that. So yeah, just so defensively, we are really tight. We are really, really good. And there's one player that worried us slightly in that defence is Sergi Canos, because obviously Sergi Canos is a left winger, and we put our left winger back on the right wing back, and we're like, oh God, is Sergi going to do it? But he's been phenomenal as a right back. You know, obviously he's got, you know, he's not 100% perfect because he's not a trained up right back, but what he's been doing and what he's been adding to the attack has been nothing short of incredible.
And it was him running through against West Ham, the shots parried, and Waymo scores at the back post.
That's right.
I mean, you're spoilt for choice here, and I've been doing interviews all day, and there are fans that can barely pick out a favourite game of the season, but you've had some superb games so far, including that Liverpool one, Arsenal on the first day, obviously winning at West Ham. Is there a standout performance that you've enjoyed the most so far this season?
Oh dear. Okay,
absolutely spoilt, Billy, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. I mean, it's just the interesting thing again. Like I said to you on our Pride of West London podcast, every game that we've gone through, we come to the game, we say, "Oh, the next game is going to be our hardest game so far." And we've kind of done that, and every time we go to, we said, "Are we taking the pee out of ourselves?" Because we keep on saying this for every single game, and it's honestly, it's the truth that every game up to West Ham, when we played West Ham, we said West Ham is going to be our toughest game so far, and I think there's different reasons for that. You know, the Arsenal game started off, you got a blank sheet, so you didn't know what it's going to be like. So you're always going to look back at the Arsenal game. But, you know, if you asked me beforehand, we're going to beat Arsenal, I would have said to you, I have no chance. You know what I'm saying? Because you've got no barometer. You don't know what's going to happen.
No.
But all of a sudden we played that game, and after the first 10 minutes, you thought, actually, we don't look like we're going to lose this game at all. And that was great. Now, that game was great as I wouldn't say a celebration. It was like an event. It was just like, you know, the whole thing, new stadium, big fans, noise, you know, Arsenal, all the world's TV was watching us. So that was great. So you're thinking, oh no, I'm never going to go back on that because that's just the best one. But then, you know, a few weeks later, we played the Palace, which was cool. You know, you play the Villa, which is a really great game. And it's a really good away day. Villa, I love going up to Villa. It's a great away day. But then, we, like I said to you, we got the walk. I think we had the Brighton game, which is a bit of a gutter because, you know, we probably should. Well, the Brighton fans on our podcast said that we should have beaten them. We didn't take our chances. Unfortunately, they took the one chance that they did do, put the ball in the back of the net. But that was almost like a wake-up call for us. So the Wolves game was a real tester because Wolves were, you know, if you believe in XG, which we do because we're Brentford, because that's what's going to help to get us where we are.
You were the first ones to believe in XG, for God's sake.
You know, exactly. But
the Dean Smith and the Justice League, yeah?
That's right, yeah. So we were on another level. Wolves were on another level when it came to that. In effect, basically meant they created loads of really good high-quality chances. They just didn't put them in the back of the net. And the fear was, Brentford going to turn up there, do a Brentford as you do, and when Wolves put five past you, you know, because they couldn't put five past the rest of them. But that when we beat them, that was a real kind of like, whoa, hold on a second here. We're actually not bad, are we? Like, you know.
And Ivan Toney in that game as well, Billy. It's like, oh, okay. He can do it in League One, he can do it in Championship, and absolutely fine in the Premier League as well, yeah?
Yeah. No, he was causing a lot of problems, Ivan Toney. And as you know as well, it's not all about Ivan Toney just scoring goals. It's what else he does all over the pitch, and he's you
were talking about power and defensive ability. Stick him in the penalty box on a defensive corner. He's a monster, isn't he?
He wins everything. He pretty much wins, and I'm going to say this touch wood because it's obviously going to be a chance when he doesn't win everything in the air. But he wins. He wins pretty much everything in the air, which is great, you know. So you got Ivan Toney, like, you know, you got that. But the game for me, you know, is, you know, before the West Ham game, which is great because it's an away day, and it's always loved to have an away day, and especially winning with a last minute winner, which is a really good away day. But we really had to kind of batten the hatches down in the second half, especially with the team that was actually under strength, because with no Aya in our team, we had to compensate with no Iain out as well, who is a man. He's brilliant. He is so in our midfield, you know, closes people down. You know, only cost us 500 grand. He did, and he was unbelievable player.
Did you ever bet on Ben Rama to score then, Billy?
No. Absolutely no, absolutely no. I think he got his goal in the pre-season friendly, so he'll give that one. You know, and he was relatively quiet, to be quite honest. He had a shot from about 25 yards outside the area, but other than that, I think that we had his number. But but that game we were under strength, but we really had to batten the hutches down because West Ham did come at us in the second half. So that was a good victory and a good win, and it's great to have a last-minute winner. But the Liverpool game, that was the one which was just the game for me. It had everything in it. You went into that game playing Liverpool, not expecting to get anything out of it at all. And that's not putting yourself down as a team. You've got Liverpool coming to you. You feel proud because Liverpool are coming to your new stadium. It's going to be busy. It's going to be loud. It's a night game, Liverpool fans are coming down confused because they're just like, well, why are they letting all of us fans into their pubs and we can wear colours? And we're just like, listen, that's Brentford, mate. That's just how it goes. So they were kind of like quite confused by the welcome that they were given by Brentford. We're just like, as long as you have a drink and mate and just behave yourself, we're all cool with that, But it was a great day. The atmosphere was brilliant. The game was just on another level. And but the fact that we went toe to toe with them all the way to the end of that match, and they kind of came away sort of like looking like, cool, well, that's been giving us a bit of a game. And then pretty much the same team went to Porto and smashed them. 5-1 or whatever it was a few days later. That's kind of made us feel, listen, this is not about cup matches, which you always play teams in the cup and you have to do them. We're doing this week in and week out, and we know we're going to fall off at some stage, and you're probably going to come, we're playing Chelsea next, and they might come and smash us 4-0, but it's knowing how to pick yourself up from that and then carry on going. And we know that we've got some great players. We know that we've got a great fan base who get behind their team, and we're just having a lot of fun at the moment.
Outstanding. Isn't it great as well? Because as much as it's fun in the EFL, and okay, you might get a Leeds or a Villa, Forest, big clubs. You've had Arsenal and Liverpool, and there's just that. It's just great having them at your stadium. I remember in 2000, we had Manchester United first home game with Beckham, Keane, Giggs and Scholes, and it was just like, wow, these people at our stadium. I've been asking everyone, Billy, higher or lower at Christmas, and despite being one of the happiest fans we're going to speak to today, I suspect you're probably going to say lower, aren't you?
If I'm being realistic, I'm going to say lower because that top six. I tell you something, I'm doing everybody, including myself and the club, probably a disservice here by saying that. But also, I'm trying to be realistic about it, and I know that we've had a half decent run of games. We've still got your Man Cities, your Chelseas, Man Uniteds. We've got some big teams to come. So, we are going to drop some points. So I think if we're going to be realistic, I'd say, of course, lower than 7th. But also, I think another thing that we're very good at doing is that we're very good at going against the grain. So, when we came up to the Championship, with a manager who had never managed in the Championship before. In fact, he'd hardly ever managed at all. And we led with a striker, Andre Gray, who had just signed from Luton, who were non-league at the time for 500 grand. And everybody who knows about football, all the pundits were going, oh, Brentford, oh, yeah, And there's all these sort of rules of football that people think that if you don't go by the rules, then it's not going to work. Brentford haven't got a manager who's managing the Championship. They haven't got a recognised striker who's played in the Championship. They haven't got recognised players who've played in the Championship. But Brentford are like, rule book, tear it up.
Reserve
got players who we believe can play in this division, who we believe are better than these players in the division. We'll just go off and do it. And bang, bang, bang. They've done it and sort of 2, 3, 4, and they've continued to do it in the Championship for years in year on. Now we come to the Premier League and then you hear it. They say the usual things. Teams that come up will get relegated straight away. Teams that come up can't buy players like this. The players that come up aren't good enough. They say all these things because it's, I don't know. It's almost like slightly lazy journalism. I'm honest with you, and I think it's better. Isn't it better to sit down and watch a team and analyse them and see what they're about, rather than just come out with lazy plaudits all the time? And that's what a lot of people do. So we're sitting down there thinking this is actually great for us because we were underdogs for so long, for 40 odd years, when I'm going to Grimsby and Accrington, Stanley, all these places. You're always the underdog, Brentford playing in the lower leagues. And then in the Championship, you're the underdog until the last few years when we became the team where everyone's going, oh, Brentford, you got to watch them. They're going to get promoted.
To be a bit more like them, yeah?
Oh, and you're like, oh, what a nightmare. We're not under the radar anymore. Everyone's rating us. Like, we're not used to this. And now we're back in the Premier League and like everyone's like slagging us off and just not rating us. And we're thinking, this is brilliant. This is like the old days, So we're back under the radar. We can do what we want. So it's a little bit annoying when you get up to sort of 7th place, You
can't have it both ways, Bill.
No. But the thing is that, like I said, you do it, but I think that people still you know, you've got people say you're going to blow away and you've got this and you haven't got the players and you haven't got the squad and you're not good enough. And I'm just sort of thinking that is actually really lazy, because have a look at these players. Just because we bought a player for only £13 million, which is more money that we pay for anybody ever, you know what I'm saying, doesn't mean that he isn't actually as good as somebody else has bought for 50 million, like Ben White. You know what I mean? You know, it's just like, it's not about the money, it's about the player. So people have got to start watching football with their eyes again a little bit, and stop watching it with the numbers and papers and and all that other stuff. Anyway,
just the thing is, though, from our point of view, you and me, Brentford have been a big story for the last, like you say, what, five years probably. To a lot of Premier League fans, they don't know who you are. They don't know any of the players. They've never been there. Do you know what I mean? So they've got, like you say about a barometer, they don't know, and it's good that you're teaching them, isn't it? I've asked everybody then, Billy, for a letter grade for the start of the season. And I suspect
A plus.
Are you going for the plus as well? Go on. What's your rationale there?
Well, just because it's brilliant. Because the thing is, no one's expected it. We didn't expect it. We're having a bit of a laugh. We've lost one game against Brighton, but in our minds, if anything, we learned from losing that game. And so for me, I'm not going to mark down the team on losing to Brighton. I think that, we're in the Premier League and we're having fun. The fans are having fun. The players are having fun. We're scoring goals. We're not letting that many goals at the moment, not touch wood. And long may it carry on. So listen, A+ for me.
Fantastic, Billy. Can you give us a quick plug? And for anybody watching, we weren't just doing silly name dropping, because they have had the technical directors on the podcast. So it is a good watch. If you are one of these people who doesn't have a reference point for Brentford, you can get one from the podcast. Billy, do you want to give a bit of a plug for that?
Yeah. I mean, we not only had the technical director out of the pub, because we do our Besotted Pride of West London podcast, which we do 3 a week. And we do it down the pub. One of them on the Wednesday night, we do it down the pub every single Wednesday night. And then we got one which we do straight after the match, which is worthwhile checking out as well. The West Ham podcast and the Liverpool podcast that we did straight after the match, the post-match podcasts are great, because we literally stick a microphone under people's voices, just go around, home and away fans, and we get the views of the fans after the game. Like I said to you, Pride of West London as well. And we've not only had our directors of football down the pub, which you talked about, which is really, really worth listening to, because they really just told it as it was. In fact, Frank Onyeka, who's the player, who's Frank the Tank Onyeka, who's one of the midfielders that we signed in the summer, we actually kind of exposed it on that podcast, where the directors of football weren't expecting it. We said, all right, okay, so when we signing Frank the Tank Onyeka, then they were like, how did you know about him? It was quite funny. So we got that whole situation that happened there as well. And we also invited Thomas Frank down the pub as well. So if you check out the Besotted podcast, Pride of West London, just put in, Besotted podcast, Thomas Frank. There's 2 editions there where he came down the pub. He actually said to us, Billy, I fancy being on your podcast. I said, only if you come down the pub, because, if you get the training ground, it's really dry and it's really sterile and everyone does it down there. It's not the vibe. We do our podcast down the pub. If you want to do it down the pub, that's cool. We went, yeah, all right then. And he came down the pub. So that's the kind of club that we are, and that's why we love it. In fact, one of our crew, one of the Besotted crew, he lives in Denmark. He flew over for the West Ham game, as you do on Sunday morning. Flew up for the West Ham game, flew back to Denmark for the West Ham after the West Ham game. And who was sitting beside him on the plane? Thomas Frank, going home for a few days for the international. So they had a good old chat on the plane on the way home, as they do. So good old puns in there. Sort of, he's giving us all the close season happenings. He's going to give us when he comes back. Tell us what's going on there. But like I said, prideofwest.london. Check it out, or besotted.com as well as our website. We've got loads of articles on there. You should check them out.
Brilliant stuff, Billy. And this is why I do this Dearly Departed show, because you would just be gone to me now, Bill, wouldn't you? I'm never gonna see you again. You're off in a different stratosphere now.
Not mate. I love the EFL. Tell you something. Still watching it, and I love it, and I just love football. So in a way, actually, I was just thinking it's quite good with the Premier League, with these games being all over the place, because it actually might give me a chance to catch up with some of my EFL mates and actually go to games with them. So I really think it's a great league. There's some great teams there, and there's some great fans down there in the EFL as well. We might even be back there in a few years. Who knows? But that's not the point at the moment now. But yes, definitely no departed, mate. I'll be still catching up with you a lot in the next few weeks and months.
Legend, thank you, Billy, and up the Brentford at the moment. Long may it continue.
You bees.